Welcome to One Insight. My name is Litvin. I grew up in London and I now live in LA. And this is a podcast for extraordinary top performers and their coaches. You see, I've coached some of the most successful and talented people on the planet. I can see what most people cannot see, and I dare to say what most people wouldn't dare to say. And what I know about success is that on the other side of it, it can be incredibly lonely. You can feel more of an imposter the more successful you become. And when you're the most interesting person in the room, you're actually in the wrong room. Clients who are more successful, more intelligent, and wealthier than you need your support more than they know and more than you can imagine. I coach around insight. Life looks one way, something happens, and the world looks different, and your entire world changes. It can happen in an instant. And this podcast is called One Insight because a single insight can change everything. You're about to hear me in conversation with a fantastic woman, a member of my community, 4PC. Her name is Kanchan. And Kanchan tells me that the reason she's been in 4PC for close to 4 years now is it does three things for her. It helps her get grounded and super solid. It helps her level up, surrounded by extraordinary people. And the thing that I bring in is an ability to disrupt her thinking. And I love that because it's exactly what I do. I love to provoke and disrupt people's thinking. And so she talks about the fact that she's a lifelong learner and what needs to happen next. And I play this out against a phrase that really informs much of what I do when I work with high-performing individuals. What got you here won't get you there. What got you here won't get you there. So if she spent a lifetime learning in all sorts of very traditional ways, the only way to get to the next level is learning in untraditional ways or unlearning. So listen in. If you're someone who spends a lifetime learning and studying and immersed in wanting to know what's more, what's next, this might be really valuable for you too. Hi, Kanchan.
Hi, Rich.
Hey, you've been a member of 4PC now, my community of leaders and coaches. 3 years?
Coming on to 4.
It was 4 now. Wow, time flies, right?
Exactly.
How's life different now than it was before you began? I'm curious.
There's a few factors that play for me. One has to do with the groundedness that I have right now that I didn't before. And that stems from a very goal-oriented way of being and shifting my energy outward prior to coming into 4PC. So I know I've internalized a fair bit. I've turned it within to really find my own footing, number one. The other big change for me is being surrounded by these phenomenal coaches internationally and just leveling up with that. And the third reason why I joined 4PC, Rich, was because of you. You disrupt my thinking. And it's one of the, and you disrupt it in a way that I appreciate, which is with inquiry, but in a very sort of thought-provoking way. So the difference is I find myself doing that now, not so much as mimicking you as it is, right, that disruption got me here, and how do I do that for my clients? And it's been extremely beneficial for me in terms of how I show up as a coach for my company and what I do in the world. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm going into year 4. So
nice. I love that. I was listening to Rory Sutherland this morning. He's one of the leaders at Ogilvy, the advertising company, fascinating British thinker. And he was talking about the power of comedy because comedy disrupts your thinking. That's what great comedy does. You think you're going down here and suddenly you screech over here and it's like, oh, I didn't see that coming, and makes us laugh. And it dawned on me the power of comedy. It's transformational, which is the work that we're doing. Someone's heading down this path, we screech into a halt and head them in this direction. So it's fun hearing you talk about this disruption to your thinking. So let's see where we go today. I know you've done some reflection before this conversation. So sometimes what we come here for is not what we get. but let's find out. Sometimes it is. What would make this a really valuable conversation for you?
So you're right. I did think about. I was trying to process. So what's happening for me today? 10 years into my executive coaching practice, owning my company, doing well, being clear on where I'm going, and still working through some of that. Where I find I'm wanting to sort of unpack a bit more is there's a sort of side by side journey of self discovery with the work I do in the world with other women of culture and executives. The shift for me, when I think about it, is that I used to do a lot of training and learning and all of this self development. Some of it was, quite honestly, credibility for
Mhm.
credibility. And I did my master's in leadership for that 15 years ago because I wanted the stamp and everything else. And there's a reality to burden of proof for people
Mhm.
like me in the world
Mhm.
as a woman of culture. So, yes, that's reality. But I do know that my desire to do a lot of the learning and why I think it's important to have the conversation with you, because I know how much you've invested and continue to invest in your learning. The shift has been, it comes from a place of curiosity. I know internally why I'm doing the training. Where I'm wondering and where I'm sitting in right now is I could dedicate a good chunk of my life in learning. I love to learn. I love it. I love the whole act of it. It's one of my strength finder top 5 is learner. What I'm trying to sort of grapple with right now is how much, and that may be too binary of a question, but at what point does one sort of how does one navigate that? Because I find myself going more and more into it. So, from a person who does this a lot,
Mhm.
I'd love to sort of unpack that a bit further.
Yeah, I think that's great. Here's what I've got, and we'll see if this will be a conversation. I'm always thinking about the idea of what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
That's running constantly in my mind. When I'm working with very, very successful people, include you in that, whatever has got you to the place you're at today is probably going to hold you back from the next level. So that's what I'm playing out in my mind as I'm thinking about learning. So as I think for you, yeah, look, I got a master's degree in education. I went to study negotiation, the Harvard Negotiation Project. I studied negotiation with Chris Voss. I love to learn from the best, and that fascinates me. But what got me here won't get me there. Where I'm learning the most right now is in all sorts of unique and unusual ways, because otherwise I'll be like every other coach out there. So last year, I spent several months learning how to drive a Porsche on a racetrack. It was really fun. And I got insights about myself and how I show up. Now, those people who are listening won't know what just happened. You just looked up and to either your right or your left. What happened?
Uh, I was I immediately went into where is that possible for me, which
Right.
is non-traditional way of learning and exploring with curiosity and just taking that for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, quick aside for those of you who are listening and watching, I was telling a story, but I didn't get so wrapped up in my story because I could talk for hours about those Porsches on the racetrack and how fun it was. I was present with you at the very same time, and I caught your eye movements, stopped my story. It wasn't relevant. Let me see where Kanchan is. So let me stay with that place right now. But that's a powerful coaching moment for anyone watching. Look, I just mentioned comedy. Do an improv course, do a stand-up comedy course. Stand-up comedy is terrifying. I did it like 15 years ago. Monique's been doing it more recently, my wife. It was terrifying for me. I got insights about life and how I show up and how I hold myself back and what I do. And go and drive a car on a racetrack. It doesn't matter what it is. I would say learn any skill other than high-level coaching, negotiation, leadership, or management.
Yeah. So what's coming up for me right now is, I mean, I've got just hired two separate coaches for different aspects of where I'm trying to go for the fall,
Yep.
besides being in 4PC.
Yep.
Bringing in somebody else to help develop a program. So there's all these. Two of them are learning pieces as a coach. One's an intuitive coach. The other one is talking about intuitive power as well. Those are all important, but the piece that I'm hearing from you, which I think is very unique, is it's still very goal-oriented right now where I'm going. And which is probably why it doesn't sit like where I'm kind of going, how much more? Like I could hire 3 more coaches for that matter and spend, a tremendous amount of time exploring and doing. And then there's I'm still going to the edges of I'm either back to back in the development of my company, or I'm back to back in the development of me. And one of the things we've talked about is range, and what are we doing about that? And as we're talking about it, a disruptor is range can look like going to a race car, going to racing a car, going to a Porsche dealership, or whatever it is that you were talking about, something that's so different. And as soon as you said that, it's like it already feels like I'm holding it lightly. It's not, I am learning. I've hired this person to do, again, working from the edges of my development, if you will, and why it feels uncomfortable, why it's even a question I'm bringing forward to us today. It feels it's too much of an edge.
Look, here's what I got for you. Go and do some work with Shannon, who's in 4PC. For those of you who are listening, Shannon's a former trial attorney who reinvented herself as a firefighter, rose to a high level as a lieutenant as a firefighter, then left to become a coach. Go and do a ropes course with Shannon, where watch what happens to your body when you're high up on a platform. Go and do what does Monique teach? Improv, music, vocal improv. Don't go to a vocal improv session with Monique. Go and spend time with Chris Frolick and discover how to do a hypnosis training with him, because he did comedy hypnosis on a stage. Or ask him to train you. If I was going to be a DJ with 4,000 people in front of me, how would I do that? Tap into the unique genius of 4PC members. That has nothing to do with coaching or building a business.
Yeah.
And know at the same time, it will have everything to do with coaching and building a business. I could send you to a course to learn how to make pasta, and you would get insights and distinctions around what you need next in your leadership, because you're deeply reflective, and that's what you need. And look, if you need a business expert because you're learning how to master creating a podcast, or you want to run a new kind of seminar, and there's a place for that. I'm talking about, like you say, the range over on this side where you've never explored. I've been working with a somatic coach to understand my body. I did a course called Nervous System Mastery. I'm being trained by an expert in intuition right now. I'm a scientist by background. None of these things even make sense to me, but that's why I'm studying these things.
And I think that's exactly why, even when I hired my intuitive coach, it's to push the edge on something for sure. And there's still opportunity to play. The question I'd love to even go deeper is, how do you balance being in the business and on the business? This sounds odd. 10 years I've been in this. And it's the space for learning, space for all of that. That's the other piece of it for me, because I can always, these last 4 years being in 4PC, my investments in all the coaches I've worked with, or somatic healers, all of that has been tremendous. And it's definitely impacted me. And I see that about myself. I guess I'm just trying to, and maybe this is, even as I'm saying this, I'm wondering if this is too analytical in terms of in my head about where does one, I know it, even as I'm asking the question, it's too analytical. It's letting that go.
What's great is in real time, you're catching, the question doesn't even need to be answered. That's how much you shifted. Because when you do work on your body to understand how your nervous system operates, or you understand about intuition, we're running the 4PC Accelerator in a few weeks, and I'm bringing along Franz Johansson wrote the book, The Medici Effect, to teach about his second book, The Click Moment, which really is a book about how do you create more luck in your life? Luck can be created. We talk about, oh, that person's so lucky. No, luck can be curated and created.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bringing this man along to talk about that with us. This is the game we're in right now. And you're catching in real time, oh, that question about logical answers doesn't really matter. Look, you brought in a distinction, and I want to add to it. Working in your business versus working on your business. That comes from Michael Gerber, the E-Myth, E-Myth Revisited. He drew this distinction. We spend so much time working in our business, but then we need to work on our business. That's the next level up. That's taking time out, doing reflection on how you're going to get cash flow to be better, how you think about taxes, even how you're going to rest and recuperate. But there's a third level to this. There's working in your business, working on your business, and working on yourself. And that's what we're talking about here. This is the highest level. Not many people get to that level. You're fortunate if you can get from living and working in your business to working on your business. Not many people ever get there. Most people are so exhausted and drained, they just never get out of this world. Some people do. They get to play in a different way. And you are already playing at this level of working on yourself. And sometimes working on yourself can look like fun. It really can.
Yeah. And I love that. I love these distinctions because I have very intentionally done the on the business and my strategic, all that stuff. I've shifted it. And the way you've just brought it in, on self is another layer too. And it is with intentionality that is what's happening. And I'm, that's a blessing. Why am I trying to make it into a how do I unpack this? And again, it's trying to make sense of it and put it in a box. And in fact, I need to flap that open and just let it be. And that's the insight. That's it right there.
Yeah. And we're bringing more and more of this into 4PC. When we get together in South Carolina in February, I think, I'm using a quote by Annie Lamott. I'll have to paraphrase. I haven't got it in front of me. It goes something like this. Almost anything that's not working can be reset by turning it off for a moment, including yourself. And I'm telling people in 4PC that come for this 4-day intensive, but come 2 days early and stay 2 days late. We're going to be tapping into nature, humor, music, touch, movement, because that's where everything shifts. And if you ask me in advance, well, how's that going to help me in my business? The answer is, I haven't got a clue. But do I know it will? 100%.
I concur 100%. Every one of our intensives have been that. There is always something we walk because we have this experience that is felt in my body where I can now come home and realize, oh, yes, I know what that is and where it is. It's my left, third toe that felt that one. It's great. And it's great. So yeah, absolutely. And, but I love the perspective of being on, working on yourself is another layer to leveling up who you are, how you are in this world.
And I'm catching myself because I think there's a fourth layer. There's working in the business, working on the business, working on yourself. And then this doesn't sound appropriate, playing with yourself. But there's something around the next level beyond working on yourself, because the word work is still in there and it's got to be playful. At that level, it's playful.
And it's the piece that I'm getting out of that is holding yourself lightly. It's holding yourself. It's shifting the being on the business or in the business doesn't even have to be work. It can be held lightly. It needs to be actually held lightly for sustainability in terms of going forward and to thrive. It's maybe not even working on self. It is holding self lightly as you. That's what's making sense to me right now.
Great. Yeah. You're in the right place.
I feel it.
Yeah. Kanchan, I think we're there. Because I think any more talking about it will get us back into our heads and thinking about it. And I put it to you, go and sign up for a music class, a dance class. I did an Indian dance class in San Francisco with Monique a few weeks ago. It was edgy and scary for me. It's not my natural thing. And it was so fun. I had to consciously keep getting out of my head. It was in a park, so it couldn't have been more public. And it was great for me. And I got all these coaching insights as a result of being there.
Fantastic. So it was Bhangra. It was Bollywood dance.
Yep. Fantastic. Bollywood dance class. Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Inspiring. Thank you, Rich.
Thanks, Kanchan.
For most of human history, it wasn't called coaching, it was called leadership. And it's what I love to do, to coach people, to lead people, and to mess with people's thinking. If you'd like more of this, or if you'd like to learn more about our community of extraordinary top performers, go to richlitvin.com/oneinsight.